I'm Bram from Materialise. Materialise is a Belgian company specialized in 3D printing. 3D printing is a new way of making things. It's basically we start from a digital file and then layer per layer we build a product. And this way of making things allows for example, customizing a lot cheaper. It allows for making more complex structures, and we can use this technology to make things in a different and a better way. We make a lot of different things with our technology, and we make them for professionals. For example, in machine tooling, we do that for patients with medical implants. We do that for consumers, which are also traveling in eyewear. In the tourism industry, we've done a couple of things. A lot of work for musea with art, with reproductions of statues. And then one of our examples we're really proud of is the custom-made skiing boots. I brought one here. That is the inside of a skiing boot, made specially for a custom. It's a custom boot, specially made for a more comfortable and more accurate skiing. The skiing boot, I know that a lot of people that are skiers are interested in that, because skiing boots in general can be really uncomfortable. Well, we as Materialise, we did not come up with this idea ourselves. In general, we work together with our companies that know their markets, and in this case it was with Tailored Fits. A company that really heard these complaints of boots that weren't comfortable, and that decided, okay, maybe we can make them more comfortable if they perfectly fit. Not only will the skier be able to ski an entire day without having sore foot afterwards, but it will also help him to have more controls on while going on the slopes. The advantages of 3D printing consumer products on an individual base, they are quite obvious. I think it really gives you a good way of, it gives you a perfect fit, and that's the first thing. And for skiing boots, that help with comfort, that helps with control. For eyewear, for example, that can really help you with positioning the lenses. There are people with multifocal lenses, and for a multifocal lens, it's extremely important that they are positioned well. Well, nowadays you go to the eye doctor, get a lens prescribed, go to the optician, you choose a frame, the optician fits that lens as good as bad as it possibly can in that frame, and you hope that the positioning is correct. We wanted to turn that around. We put the client central, we put the vision central. We looked, okay, how does this lens have to be positioned to help you really to see better? And after that lens is positioned, we basically print the frame around that. For the skiing boots, it's the same principle. Nowadays, you go to the store and you buy skiing boots and you hope that they fit. And normally, with a lot of people, their feet aren't exactly the same size. Sometimes it can differ quite a lot. Sometimes it's only a couple of millimeters, but there will always be one foot where it sits better than in the other one. And if you really scan your feet and then afterwards look, okay, how do I have to make this skiing boot optimal so it really fits, that is something that can help you tremendously. For those two products, we work mostly with plastics. There are different plastics. I'm not going to bore you with the details of exactly which plastics they are. For eyewear, it's a powder-based process, so there we really go layer per layer, and then a laser hardens out the powder. For skiing boots, we start with a plastic thread that we then heat. It's a process that most people will know as 3D printing, because it's really resemblant to like the 3D printers you have, some people have at home or in school. We get the question whether these materials are recyclable quite a lot, and 3D printed materials, in this case plastics, they're not different than other materials. So they're not more easily recyclable or less easily recyclable. It would be perfectly imaginable. The skiing boots are mostly made of one kind of plastic that you then shred them, and that you then can remake them into filament and then print new skiing boots. But the main ecological advantage is not so much the recyclable of the plastics. Obviously, everyone's working on recyclable plastics, but the fact that by additive manufacturing, we basically deposit material where we need it. So we won't have excess material. We really just use the material that we actually need. So the material demands are lower than with products that are made in another way. So we have the two things, the recyclability and then the amount of material that we actually use. People always think that the printing process is just pressing a button and then the printer starts to print. And that's the very, very last part of that process. It really starts at the very beginning where you define the product that you need. You come with a concept. In this case, the concept is obviously ready. We want skiing boots. And the client, they goes to the shop, his feet get scanned. That can be done with high-tech scanners, but nowadays, iPhone cameras and phone cameras are so good that in a couple of cases you can just do a scan with those, and we can then on the basis of that scan we can determine how your foot is positioned, how the gait is positioned, things like that, and we add we see what the optimal positioning would be for an insole or a skiing boot or a midsole, and then we determine that the computer program determines that goes to the printer. There's a lot of software needed for that, for being able to then actually print and to maximize the building potential of that printer. It prints, and the process there really depends on the technology. So in some cases that can be a day, in other cases it can be 5 days. Sometimes you can do it a little bit faster. That really depends on the technology that you choose, the material that you choose, and then it goes to the store and to the hopefully happy customer. The interesting question about the scale of 3D printing and how many we can print and at what price, that makes it the interesting thing there is that's a question that goes for the entire 3D printing industry. And you see that the 3D printing industry really started as a prototyping industry, and that was the first thing we could do, making prototypes, and we've been doing that for the last 30 years. Now the entire industry is moving more and more towards serial manufacturing, and in some cases that really helped in revolutionizing entire markets. A good example is the hearing aids industry. That basically in 2003 they started 3D printing, and 500 days later every hearing aid in the US was 3D printed. So there it really helped, and that's because it maximized the potential of 3D printing. It was complex and it was personalized, and the alternative was a manual process. We see that in other industries as well. We do believe that in the eyewear industry there's also that potential. We see that in if we don't go for an entire skiing boot but just for the insole, that's also really interesting to 3D print. The innovation in a lot of cases starts in the high end of the market. It's true for eyewear, it's also true for skiing boots. So in the first instance, that will probably be more for professional skiers or people that want to spend a bit more on their boots. But we do see that the prices of the technology and how fast it can go, that it does go down. So it will go to other markets as well, and I don't think it's completely exaggerated that we will see a shift in the entire shoewear industry, not just the skiing boots industry, but in the entire shoewear industry that goes more and more towards personalized shoewear. The question is just when will that exactly happen, and that depends on external drivers for the technology. If we look at a skier, what could we 3D print? There's a lot that we can 3D print. The question is not so much what can you 3D print, the question is what would be useful to 3D print. And I think in first instance that would be a skiing boot, or just the insole that goes inside that skiing boot to give some extra comfort there, because that's a complaint that you hear quite a lot. But also there are other places that it can make sense to 3D print. I think at the ski glasses, for example, that might give some extra comfort as well. A helmet is possible for skiers, for bikers, for a lot of people. Body armor might be a good idea if that gives you more comfort, but you always have to ask yourself what is the extra value of this personalization, and with that extra value, yeah, it comes then also cost. So what is the cost? And if costs go down, then yeah, the value proposition might be true for more and more applications. But the first question should always be not so much can you 3D print it, because the answer there is most of the time yes, you can 3D print it. The question that you should ask is, does it make sense to 3D print it? The next steps in 3D printed skiwear, I don't think that's only up to us as Materialise. That's in first instance to our customers. We're not a skiing manufacturer, a ski wear manufacturing company, but we do have the 3D printing expertise. And our vision on the market is that we are more than willing to help companies in the skiing world to innovate, to help them think what can 3D printing mean for them. And that's why we do co-creation sessions with them, and they will bring their expertise from the skiing world and their problems, and we will bring our expertise around the table from 3D printing and thinking together with them, how can we solve it? Can we solve this problem with 3D printing, and what would be the best way to do that? So consider it an open invitation. There is a lot of interest in 3D printing worldwide, and a couple of years ago there was also the thinking everyone will have a 3D printer at home and print all sorts of stuff, right? Going from printing their clothes to printing their food, basically printing everything. We've never really believed in that. We've never believed that it would make sense for someone to have a 3D printer at home and start printing stuff, because I've explained before as well, it's not just a push the button process. It's really, it takes a lot of expertise. It also takes a good application that you have to think of. So I do not think that people will have 3D printers at home. What I do believe is that 3D printing will make a difference in people's life. People, it already does. It does in the medical world. It helps people walk again with implants. It can help give skiers more comfort. It can help give people more comfort, make them able to read better with better glasses. It will help people, it will help runners with insoles. In some musea, it will create art and stuff like that. And so it will make a difference in people's life. And I think at a certain age, we will become maybe even a boring technology where people just assume, okay, I don't care how things are made if they work, but 3D printing will make it, will make a lot of new products, a lot of new applications possible. So it will make a difference, but you probably won't notice it. So what can you expect in 3D technology over the next 10 years? It's a bit of a hard question to answer, but we'll see a lot of progress. And 3D printing is still a relatively small market. It will definitely in 10 years be a lot bigger with a lot more impact. You will see more and more customized products. I think that's for sure. That's one of the benefits of 3D printing. More and more digital supply chains where there's less need for stock and things will be made on demand, so that there's less waste. I also believe in the technology sector itself then that you will see new materials popping up, in first instance new sorts of plastic, new sorts of metals, but on the a bit further on the horizon you will obviously also see more multi-material prints, and after that, yeah, who can say that the people are experimenting with stem cells, which can make a major difference in the medical world. But then we're really talking over 10 years plus of development. But it will be interesting times for sure. I can imagine that 3D printing will change a lot of industries. Whether it will change the travel industry, time will tell. I think it will change the life for travelers. They will have better wearables, basically. But the travel industry is a lot about experiences. So we can help augment these experiences and help people, but it won't be visible. For example, a good example is 3D printing will help planes to be lighter, to use less fuel, and to get people on their way more efficiently. So maybe it will drive prices down. It will become more economically friendly to fly somewhere. But as a traveler, you probably won't know that this is the innovation that actually helps you get at your place. Austria is for us is an important company. We actually have an office in Austria, a sales office, with a couple of people working there. So it is an important market for both our industrial as our software and medical divisions. So the question is not whether we see it feasible to work together with an Austrian company, because we work with Austrian companies already. We are, as a company, it's our job to also give consultancy on 3D printing to help how 3D printing can help your industry. And maybe after our talks, the answer will be we cannot help you, but that's only very seldomly so. So how can the industry prepare for 3D printing, for what it can do? Well, come and talk, and we'll help.